You know that Marvel and DC, the two biggest comic book companies in the world, have always had a serious rivalry. So naturally, it's no surprise that they sometimes copy or even rip off each other's characters. So let's get into it. I'm going to introduce 7 characters that were inspired by their rival company. Let's go. But before we start, I should say that 2 parts of this video have already been made. So in this one, we're not going to go through the usual overused list like Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark. All of these are fresh characters, and you'll definitely find out which one came first. Number 1 on our list, Spider-Man and Blue Beetle. Now you might be saying, what? Blue Beetle? Who even is that? Which one came first? Of course, you'd assume Spider-Man, right? Well, let me tell you, if you're not a comic book fan, chances are you've never even heard of the Blue Beetle. On the other hand, Spider-Man is a character literally everyone knows, from little kids to the elderly. But I'm sorry to say, our beloved Spider-Man was actually inspired by DC's Blue Beetle. Stan Lee's inspiration for creating a teenage, independent superhero, just like Blue Beetle, led to Spider-Man's creation. Blue Beetle started operating in 2003, while Spider-Man first appeared back in 1962. 2 insect-themed heroes with very similar powers. But still, Spider-Man is on a whole different level. Blue Beetle got lost in the shadows. Number 2 is Mr. Fantastic and Plastic Man. We know Mr. Fantastic as the smartest man in Marvel Comics and the leader of the first ever superhero team in comic book history, the Fantastic Four. Over time, Reed Richards solidified himself as one of the most important comic book characters. But if we're talking about his super stretchy powers, it's safe to say that he was copied from DC's Plastic Man. Now you might be saying, come on, we saw in the last video that all Marvel and DC characters are copies of each other. But I'm here to tell you that Plastic Man actually came first, and honestly, a lot of characters from DC were created earlier, even though Marvel's versions are way more popular. We're not calling it copying, let's say, inspired by. Still, Mr. Fantastic was clearly inspired by Plastic Man. Plastic Man was introduced in 1941, 2 decades earlier than Mr. Fantastic. Other than the elastic powers, the two have almost nothing else in common. On one hand, Mr. Fantastic is portrayed as a genius scientist. On the other hand, Plastic Man is a rebellious, fun, entertaining character who's not really that smart and mostly just looking for a good time. Number 3 is actually a battle between 2 teams, Doom Patrol and the X-Men. In 1963, DC decided to introduce a new team of superheroes made up of characters who were rejected by society. That's how the Doom Patrol was formed. And guess what? Just a few months later, Marvel released their own team of outcasts who were also rejected by society and mostly classified as mutants. We know this team as the X-Men, who, again, are way more popular and well-known than Doom Patrol. Why? Because Marvel's marketing is just next level. They know how to keep their characters popular for as long as they want, with the exception of 2 or 3 DC icons like Batman, Superman, or maybe The Flash. The second reason X-Men became more popular is because of the number of movies they've had. I think they made like 7 or 8 films. Meanwhile, Doom Patrol mostly stuck to comic books and had 1 small TV series. Number 4, Hulk and Solomon Grundy, kind of like Wolverine. Hulk is a character who actually got more famous than the one he was copied from. That is Solomon Grundy. Hulk had his first comic in 1962 and gained so much popularity over time that comic shops everywhere were filled with him. Eventually, he made it to the big screen, though his solo movies weren't that successful. But once he joined the Avengers, boom, everyone knew who Hulk was. He became massively popular. Let's rewind. Back in 1944, DC had introduced a character called Solomon Grundy, a zombie-like, brainless monster that didn't listen to his human counterpart, exactly like Hulk. But unfortunately, Solomon Grundy didn't gain much popularity. Over time, he faded into the background. Fun fact, Marvel and DC actually had a crossover once where Hulk and Grundy were merged together into a character called Skulk, who was insanely powerful. But again, DC's marketing? Nowhere near Marvel's level. Number 5. Scarlet Witch and Zatanna. The biggest similarity between these two characters? Their magical powers, which has led many fans to believe one was copied from the other. Two women, both wielding nearly chaotic magical powers. But here's the deal. Scarlet Witch first appeared in X-Men comics in 1964. Zatanna debuted that same year, 1964, as well. But since Scarlet Witch was introduced a few months earlier, it's fair to say that Zatanna might have been slightly inspired by her. So this might actually be the first case on our list where DC copied Marvel, and that's pretty wild. Number 6. Iron Man and Rocket Red. This one's honestly a failed copy. Rocket Red is a DC character who first appeared in 1987. A hero with a suit full of gadgets, missiles, flight systems, all that jazz. Sound familiar? Yeah, because Iron Man did it first. Iron Man was created in 1963, about 20 years earlier than Rocket Red. It's clear that DC tried to make their own Iron Man out of jealousy for his popularity. But it just didn't work. Rocket Red faded away, and no one really remembers him today. And finally, number 7. Ghost Rider and Atomic Skull. Come on, you all know Ghost Rider. Flaming skull, leather jacket, motorcycle, and a fiery, vengeful soul. Well, DC made their own version, Atomic Skull. So, who came first? These two characters from Marvel and DC both have flaming skulls, leather jackets, and ride bikes, full of vengeance and fire. But there's a difference. Atomic Skull's powers come from radiation poisoning. It's just another one of those direct copy attempts of Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider first appeared in comics in 1972. Atomic Skull came 4 years later, in 1976, clearly inspired by Marvel's character. And guess what? He failed. Hard. If you know of any other characters that Marvel or DC have copied from each other, make sure to write it in the comments so others can learn about it too. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's the best way to support us. That's all for now. Until the next video. Goodbye.